Project is a chipmunk and pen and ink. The only supplies you'll need are a pencil, and I have an ultra fine Sharpie and a fine Sharpie and a piece of paper. On the piece of paper you'll draw a line down the center like this and a line across like this to divide it into 4 equal squares, and I will number the squares 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I will draw a shape into the squares to build this chipmunk. So in square number 1, I'm going to draw an oval almost at the center of the page. In square number 2, 3, and 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, I'm going to draw a circle right in the center. And then I will connect these 2 circles with one line here in square number 1. Underneath the circle in square number 1, I'm going to draw the letter U. Then next I will draw the letter C here, connecting it to the U. Then a line here for the chipmunk's hand. Next, I'm going to draw a little line here in square number 1 for the chipmunk's stomach. And then in square number 4, I'm going to draw the chipmunk's tail. And we'll just do a kind of a long, like banana shape right there. And underneath is the tree that he's standing on. So I'll just kind of do some raggedy looking lines here for the tree stump. Then come down here. There. So that's just an organic line showing where the tree stump will be. Next, I'll go inside the chipmunk's head, which is in square number 1, and I'm going to draw an almond shape, a big one. They have big, beautiful eyes. There, and then I'm going to do a parallel or a line outside the almond shape for the white of the eyes that mark the chipmunk. Also, up here at the top of this circle, I'm going to draw an upside down U. Then a little line here and one over here to designate the chipmunk's ears. A nose here. And then I will take this little C that I drew and divide it into 3 parts. 1, 2, and 3. So that's 3 parts right there. Next, I'm going to come down into square number 3 and draw the chipmunk's feet. It's 1, 2, this is what I call hot dogs, 3 hot dogs for his feet. And next I will put markings in. They have 2 stripes down their back. So in square 1, 2, I'm going to draw a little curve like this that stops. And then another curve here stops. And then I will just kind of lightly draw a circle here for his hips. So there's your drawing of the chipmunk. You can also put a nut in there. The kids can put a nut in here. It's eating on a nut or what have you. So I'm going to go ahead and put his whiskers in. There's some whiskers here above his eyes and some coming out next to his nose. So once you get this part drawn, which probably takes only 15 to 20 minutes, you'll then start coloring with your Sharpies. And I'm going to mass in my dark colors first, which will be the stripes and the shadow. And the stripes I'll be doing with the fine Sharpie. So I'll take the side of the Sharpie and start massing in the darks like this. Here, massing in the darks. Very simple. It's just like coloring in a coloring book. It's real important to have those dark shadows. His eyes, I'll leave a little circle in his eyes for gleam. Let's put one behind his head, so a dark line here. And let's go ahead and put one dark line coming down here on the back side in square 2 and 4 all the way through the tail, like that. And then I'll just kind of hatch mark that in. Hatch mark is just drawing straight lines in a diagonal direction. There. Underneath, we want this shadow to contrast with his body so that we know he's sitting on top of something. It's just not another part of his body. So right now I'm just doing a jagged shadow from a tree trunk that he's sitting on. Then there's a shadow here. Okay, then I'll just make some knots in the trees like this, or cracks. You want some nice big dark ones to give it a little bit of a realistic feel. Okay, and then right here I'm going to go ahead and draw these, I guess they're like mushroom or fungus that grows on the side of trees. I think I'm going to put a shade over here. Okay, let's see what else is dark. I think that's all I'm going to do with this fine point Sharpie. Next, I'm going to go to my ultrafine Sharpie, and this is where I will be doing the hatch mark technique for shading. So you start out with your lightest areas first, and you know, you can take your eraser and erase out this. First, let's start here because it's the simplest area. So what I do is I just start out with, and I go in the line of the fur. You want to go in the direction of the fur, and you know, talk to the kids about how their hair falls or fur on an animal. They pretty much know how a hair on an animal looks. They have a good eye for that. So I'm just going to do a little bit of shading like this, and then up. Your light section will be in the center. And then as I get further away from the light, I'm going to darken it with cross hatching, just like this. This is called cross hatching. And the more cross hatching you do, the darker it gets. So I just keep adding and adding to get it darker. I love doing this. It's like doodling. It's a good way to color without getting too solid. Okay? So this is cross hatching. The more you do, the closer those lines get together, the darker the shade or the value is. The lighter or the further away apart the lines are, the lighter the value is. So you're designating your values by the amount of lines you put together in unison. So I'm going to come down here, and I'm just going to cross hatch here. It's really easy. And then I just go across like this. Whatever suits my fancy, I just keep going. And I continue on throughout the chipmunk. So the further I get away from the light, so say your light source is right here, the further you get away from that light, the darker the rounded areas will be on the far end. So we know that these areas here away from the light are going to be darker. And just continue on using this as a go-by, and you can see where it's more dense is where the light is not hitting as much, and where it's less dense is where your light is hitting. So that's how you'll teach this, is by just using cross-hatching for this project. And that's it.